The Egg Bowl is one of the greatest rivalries in Mississippi history, and we have had more than a few for the books. This year's Egg Bowl will be played this Friday in Oxford, so in honor of the upcoming game and to help ease the sting of a kind of disappointing season, here are 5 of the craziest moments in Egg Bowl history. Number 5, the Mud Bowl. The 1907 Egg Bowl is one of the muddiest games ever played in the history of the state. Players played on a field that was all but covered in water, and fans had to slosh through water up to their knees just to get to the stands. The Ole Miss coach notoriously gave his players coffee mixed with whiskey in order to keep them warm while playing, and after a particularly embarrassing loss, he walked off the field never to be seen in the state again. Number 4, the battle for the goalposts. In 1926, Ole Miss finally succeeded in dethroning Mississippi State, which at the time was called Mississippi A&M, after a long winning streak. Elated, Ole Miss fans rushed to the field to try and tear down the goalposts, but the Aggies weren't quite ready to let them go without a fight. Arming themselves with wooden chairs, they rushed to the field and put themselves between the Ole Miss fans and their goalposts. It's said that they continued to fight with those chairs until every single one was nothing but splinters. Incidentally, this is the incident that inspired having an Egg Bowl trophy, so that the schools could have something to take with them back to their schools after a win instead of having to tear down each other's goalposts. Number 3, the 1983 Immaculate Deflection. Down by just a point with just a few seconds left to play, Mississippi State was lined up to take a field goal that would give them the win. Freshman kicker Artie Crosby delivered a great kick straight down the middle, right at the goalposts, but at the last second, a 40-mile-an-hour gust of wind caught the ball and sent it flying off course, and sending Ole Miss home with the trophy. Number 2, the grandstand collapse. When Ole Miss and Mississippi A&M met for the 1911 Egg Bowl, they met to play on the Jackson Fairgrounds. But nobody liked the existing grandstands there at the fair because of the poor visibility, so fans paid an additional 25 cents to sit in a new, temporary grandstand that had been built just for the occasion. But as fans started getting into the game, stomping and clapping and jumping, tragedy struck. The supports onto the grandstands buckled, sending the entire structure crashing to the ground along with about 1,500 fans. Miraculously, there were no fatalities, and the cause of the crash was never fully determined. But it did become a bit of a local scandal involving relatives being given contracts and permits not being acquired. And just before we get to number 1, the honorable mentions for Craziest Egg Bowl go to the Piss and Miss, which was the unsportsmanlike conduct by Ole Miss that wound up costing them the game, and the year that a cow wandered onto the field during the Egg Bowl, which inspired the cowbell at Mississippi State. But for my list, the number 1 spot goes to the Pick and Kick, one of the greatest comeback stories of all time. Going into the 4th quarter of the 1999 Egg Bowl, MSU was down 20-6 when they began a historic comeback. State managed to tie the game, but Ole Miss had possession, and all they had to do was take a knee to end the game as a tie. Instead, they decided to go for it, launching a long pass deep into Bulldog territory. That decision cost them the game. State cornerback Robert Bean managed to deflect the ball, but before it could hit the ground, he accidentally kicked it, sending it flying across the fields and into the arms of Eugene Clinton, another state player who took the ball and ran it deep into Rebel territory. From there, all it took was one field goal to give MSU the win and to cement the Pick and Kick in Egg Bowl history forever. Who knows what we're going to see this Friday, but if history has taught us anything, it's that our Egg Bowls may be many things, but they are almost never boring.